Hello everyone, and in this video we're going to be doing the Mercy box as a 100 subscriber special. So, this box called Mercy, which is kind of foreboding, is a machine dedicated to the Offensive Security PWK course and the Machine Maker's Friend. So it's its nameplate because apparently the box will make you beg for mercy. And then here are some hints. What you always plead for but cannot get, a dubious machine, and some YouTube link, but we don't need to worry about that really. So you can see I have the box here on my host-only network. I've run a netdiscover and it's grabbed the IP.135. And for the sake of time, I've already run an nmap. You can see here's the command here. And what I often do when I do boxes is, especially in the PWK labs, is you have a directory for each box so that you can keep your notes inside of it. So I have a mercy directory for the mercy box, but if you look here, like here's my lazy yet sysadmin box, here's erg lightweight, all these other boxes, here's pain, and this is good for organization because if you ever have to do write-ups, you want your notes to be in an organized spot. So all we do is we send out the contents of this command into a text file, and then now we have it for later. So looking through this, nothing really stands out. We have SMB, so we're definitely gonna want to investigate that. We also have 8080 web server on 8080, which is Apache Tomcat / Coyote, and you can see it already found a disallowed entry in robots.txt. So try harder. So we're definitely going to want to look at that. And something odd here that I honestly don't know why the scan didn't return this, but normally when you see Apache Tomcat, you're also going to have port 80 open. In this case, the port should be filtered, port 80, because we're going to have to port knock it later, but I don't know why it's not filtered. Hopefully everything will work correctly still, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. You can see the put method is allowed on this server, so if I were in a pinch I would investigate that, but we'll check everything else out first. And then we just have some SMB notes, blah blah blah. We'll look at the shares later. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check out the /tryharder page on the web server. Well, I guess first we'll check out the main page. And you can see what looks like the default Tomcat web page. Means you set up Tomcat successfully, congratulations. The default Tomcat page is here, and it says, and you can, none of this is important, but here, note that for security reasons, using the manager web app is restricted to users with the manager GUI role. The host manager web app is restricted to users with the admin GUI role, and users are defined in this file. So we'll just copy this and save this in a text file for later, because you never know when stuff like this might be important. So there we go, we're keeping notes as we're going along. And now let's check out /tryharder. And this just looks like some sort of base64 encoded string. You can tell in base64 the equal sign is used for padding. So let me copy this. And now to decode this, all we have to do is so we pipe the base64 into decoding, and it says, "It's annoying, but we repeat this over and over again. Cyber hygiene is extremely important. Please stop setting silly passwords that will get cracked with any decent password list. Once we found the password, quite literally sticking on a post-it note in front of an employee's desk." So they're mentioning this as like a kind of a realistic way to give us a password somewhere. So we don't have a username yet, but we know that we have a password. Okay? So moving on, we're gonna investigate the SMB server now, because to complete our reconnaissance, we want to learn the file shares on the SMB server. And we're going to use a neat tool called enum for Linux. And all you do is call the tool and then pass the IP. And we can stop it there. It's going to do a bunch of stuff that we don't really care about. So you can see that there's a user called Plead for Mercy, and there's a user called QIU. There's a user called, this is a super duper long user, and the user called Fluffy. So we'll remember all these just in case. Scrolling up, we see the file shares. So we have print, but we have QIU and IPC. And if you remember from my lazy sysadmin video, we don't want to worry about these two most likely. What we do want to worry about is QIU. So if this is QIU, we also remember that we had a username of QIU. So let's try authenticating to this server and viewing the share. And to do that, we're going to use SMB client, just like the other video. Let me make this a little bigger. So here's the syntax. TAC capital U for username, QIU, and the password. I'm just going to type password and see if that's used here. And you see we connect. So we successfully can read the files in this share. And if we view our help command, we can list what's inside here. And you see we have a bunch of directories. So the first thing that I would do is I would go in this private directory. And in here we have open sesame, readme.txt, and secrets. And so let's get readme.txt. And you can see it successfully transferred. And all we have to do to view it is and it says, "This is for your eyes only, in case you forget the magic rules for remote administration." So I guess it's, I don't know, some message. It's not really relevant. We can, and now you see this one is 94 bytes, but these two being 0 and the D here means that these will be directories. So let's go to Open Sesame, or let's go to secrets first. And inside we have nothing. So go back. Let's go into Open Sesame. And inside we have config print and config. And I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Whenever you see a config file, it's good to view it just in case, because a lot of time they contain passwords and usernames or other sensitive information. So we'll get this config file. You can see that transferred as well. And now we can view the contents. Okay, and scrolling up, just looking through this. We're just looking for anything that could possibly be of use. And you see this right here. So if you're not familiar with port knocking, all it is a way for a service to monitor the logs of traffic to a port, and if they send the correct sequence, which could be a number of things, it could be just numbers like this, then they will modify the firewall rules so that your client can connect with and interact with the server. If you don't send the correct sequence, then it'll show up as closed and you won't have access to the port. So it's kind of a security method, and normally we wouldn't be able to do anything with the HTTP port, the standard HTTP port 80, but because we were able to read this share and get the sequence, we can perform port knocking and open port 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my directory, I'm going to copy down the sequence, because again, if I had to write a report, I would need this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to open the port. Okay, so now the next step we want to do is use knock to as a client for port knocking this box. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a sequence and we're going to port knock this. So (159) space 27391 space 4, and now you see we can connect to port 80, which means that we've successfully created a rule that allows us to interact with port 80. And it says this machine shall make you plead for mercy, blah blah blah. If you look at the source, there's nothing in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run a derb on this, since we have a whole new web server to deal with. I'm going to use big.txt again. So we'll wait for that to run, and that's pretty fast. So we have /time and robots.txt. So we're definitely going to check out robots.txt. And we have /mercy and /no mercy. So let's open up mercy, see what's inside there. And it's just the message we saw earlier. So let's go to no mercy. And we have this weird software here. And looking at this, it looks like it does some sort of scan on PHP files, some debugging, and looks like it identifies potential bugs. So if you notice, we have a software version here, RIPS 0.53. So whenever you see a software version like this, it's a good idea to just run a search exploit. And you can see the only one that actually matches our output is multiple, let me make this bigger so you can see. Oh, sorry, multiple local file inclusions. That's what this is going to say. So we can view the exploit with exploit db /exploits/php 18660. And it says multiple local and file inclusion vulnerabilities, blah blah blah. And it looks like you can just use the file query to include files outside of the web root. And if you notice, we need to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parent directories to get to the web root. /windows/code.php. So we'll do that now. Windows/code.php. And then the query file equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see we can include the etc/password file and do the output. So this is where you have to think like a attacker. Well, you have to do that the entire time, but even more so. How can we leverage this local and file inclusion to gain more access? We could try tricks like reading SSH keys, reading other sensitive files, maybe the shadow file is available to us. But you could try local file inclusion, remote command execution. There's a couple interesting ways to do that. But if you remember, you have to think about what the box is and how the box works and how the box is configured. So you don't want to take it just one step at a time. You want to keep the whole thing in your mind as you do boxes. So if you remember from our notes, we had this file in here, which it said it defines users in this file. So what we're going to do is, we knew we have to go back 6 directories to get to the root directory. So we're just going to include this to see the Tomcat users. And you can see we have usernames down here. This is a super duper long user, and the password equals heartbreak is inevitable. And you can see we don't want to log in as Fluffy because he has no roles, but we do want to log in as this guy right here because he is an admin and a manager. /manager, and you can see it. We have HTTP basic authentication asking for our username and password. Let me just make sure I have that right. This is a super duper long user. Nope, I can't see it. That's unfortunate. Paste. And we get logged in. So now we have access to this admin panel, and we want to shell this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a shell in a war file, upload it, and start a listener, and basically make it run a reverse shell. So I've used this command to create a Java reverse shell, and you'll notice it's an unstaged payload, so we can use a netcat listener. Basically, msfvenom-p for payload, java underscore shell underscore reverse underscore TCP, lhost equals my, oh, that's wrong. Sorry, the lhost should be my IP address. Anyway, you set the L port and then TAC-F for format, and I'll just rename this warfile1.war. And we knew we had to upload war files because it says here select war file to upload. And now we're going to upload our shell. Here's our war file. We deploy it. And now we have this here, so we're going to start a Metasploit listener. We're going to use the handler. Sorry. The lhost is your IP that you use for generating the file. L port, same thing. So now that's listening, and we're just gonna browse to this, and you can see it opens a shell. There we go, interactive shell. And now let's get out of here. Go to the home directory, see what users we have. CD. I don't think we'll be allowed. Oh. Not a super duper short way to root, so we're just enumerating right now. So let's do some bake. If you see, we can view local.txt, which this is the file in the PWK for getting user, the equivalent of user on Hack the Box. So we just tried some basic enumeration, and now if you remember, there were 2 users. We had Fluffy, and this is a super duper long user. And if you remember when we viewed the etsy/password file, both of these were users on the actual box. So what we're going to do is we're going to elevate to those. So let's elevate to, let's try Fluffy. Oh, so Python-C spawn a TTY. And now paste the password, and now we're Fluffy. So let's go to the home directory and Fluffy's directory, see what's inside. Looks empty. Up c.private. So inside private we have secrets, and we have backup.save and time clock. So let's view backup.save, and then we'll figure out what time clock is. And it just says echo backing up files. Let's see what time clock is. And it says, and all it's doing is it's getting the current time of the system. And if you look more closely, we can see that time clock is owned by root, but it's writable by our user, which is very, 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 very bad. Sorry about that. We're back. I ran into some technical difficulties, but basically we're just going to take this bash script right here and put it into the time clock file. And start a listener. Sorry about that. And we're going to wait for the cron job to run it. And as you can see, after waiting for about roughly 5 minutes, we get a connection from the cron job, and we are indeed root. So we can cat the txt file. Congratulations. The other secret file, and it says congratulations on being able to root Mercy. Bittersweet about this box. Dedication. So it's a shout out to the PWK. It's a great box. I mean, I love this box. I learned a lot from this when I originally did it. So congratulations. At the end, I'm sorry I keep doing this, but you can tell this script time clock is a cron job because it does something that would regularly happen at intervals. So I use this single greater than sign instead of 2, and 2 would append the command to the end of the file. But since I used this, it just put all the new content inside and erased the other part. But all I was doing was displaying the time like every 5 minutes or so. So you could tell it's kind of something that will be run by a cron job. So whenever you see a script like this, something that would logically make sense to be run every couple minutes, assume it's a cron job and wait at least 10 minutes for it to see whether it'll run or not. Okay? So, I'm sorry I keep messing with the file and not showing you guys it, but anyway, I hope you learned a lot. Thank you so much for 100 subscribers. If you've been here since the beginning, thank you very much. Soon I'll make a video about starting the PWK or something like that. Just kind of more like an informational video. And I also want to do some more boxes. So, until then, have a good night and I'll see you guys later.